So yeah, I'm really happy to be here. This is the second session the- in this workshop. It's a practical session. We have Jingles here, who has been building on the Cardano blockchain for many years, and many of us say that he's one of the core 10, 20 people who have given the most to this blockchain and to this ecosystem. Even our company used their Mesh SDK for wallet connections. Sorry, do you hear me well?
Yes.
Yeah.
All part is okay.
So we used this even like a year and a half ago when we were just starting building on the blockchain, and it was a good experience. And so from own experience, I can say that these tools are really good, and hundreds, if not thousands, of people are developers are using these. And of course, tens of thousands of people are users, like the end users of these things. So yeah, listen carefully. It's going to be, if I understand correctly, it's going to be about installing Mesh SDK and making a wallet and making a transaction. But if anything changed, it's all right as well. So, Jingles, you're off.
All right. Hi everyone. I do have a flu, so if I'm like not very clear, anyone can raise your hand and I can repeat myself and go slowly because I sound a bit different today. Yes, Professor, you want to say something?
No, thank you very much for your presence here.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you
you
for
see, yeah.
Yeah, really thank you for this opportunity to share with you what we can do with the tools, and it's part of the mesh kind of ethos motivation to build together. And mesh is not built by one person, it's not built by me, but it's a multiple different companies coming together, and everyone contribute to the same tool for the same goal, which is advance the tooling for Cardano or any blockchain applications that we are all working together for. So very honored to be here with you to share about more, and hopefully some of you will start to build, and you guys will also become contributors to if you find something that is missing. So yeah. Tiny introduction about myself. You can call me Jingles. That's my work name. I've been using it for the past 10 years since I was in Alibaba Group. I'm based in Singapore. And I've been working on Mesh since COVID, I think 2021, where the NFTs were quite a very popular thing. And the story of Mesh is that I was building for one project, and as you have a successful project, someone will ask you to help them build their project as well. So I started to copy and paste my code, and I work out for this project and copy and paste the code for the third projects. And one fine day, there's this thing called blockchain hard fork. Hard fork is like a very low level network change. So everything breaks, and all your project suddenly breaks. And they asked me to come back and fix for them. So you can imagine as a developer, 1 year ago, you don't know what you did. And you need to control F to find where you need to fix the problem. So that's how Mesh was created, where instead of going back to control F and change that little bit of here and there, it's our npm update, right? Update the version, and you get the latest node versions compatible tooling without going into control F for each project. So that's how it started. So yeah, so let me share my screen. I have a bunch of things to share, and it is going to be hands-on, but I don't expect you guys to code right now, but I'll provide you a lot of resources so that also GitHub repos, and you can actually try it out on your own. You will be surprised how easy it is to get started on Web3. All right?
All right.
Yep. So the goal of this session is to enable developers to build on Web3 without going through all the pain that we early developers have gone through. And we want to reduce the learning curve as much as possible. And there's two main products that I want to briefly touch on, but mostly on the Mesh SDK that I will go in depth into. Mesh SDK is the open source library And it provides everything that you need if you want to build on TypeScript. Meaning if you are building a website, it likely have the things that you need. And then there's a new thing called Web3 services. Later I'll show you a demo about it. All right. So why Mesh SDK? What are the features, right? Firstly, it's production ready. Production ready meaning it is updated to the latest node change before the mainnet hard fork changes. So almost none of our users have downtime because even though the network changed, our tools is already ready and we update with the protocol implementer to make sure that our tools is well tested against in the pre-production network before the mainnet is being certified ready. And they do check with us whether we are ready or not, and they want to make sure that this bunch of tools are ready before the mainnet switch can turn on. So we are production ready, and we also are feature complete, which is very nice, which is related to the mainnet ready. And the other thing is multiple serialization library, which maybe you don't understand, but we have two flavors. One is the pure TypeScript version, which is very good for a website, because website, you want it to be lightweight, you want it to be easy to deploy, and you want to support multiple frameworks. So TypeScript, pure TypeScript is one flavor. Second one is WASM, WebAssembly. It's great for Node.js. If you want to have multiple transaction building ultra fast at the backend by your Node.js server, then this is the second one that's good for. Two flavors, but exactly the same code. Same code base, you just need to choose which one you want, the serialization library, and you can switch between compatible for web front end or web backend. Very nice. And of course, our site is very well documented. Later, I'll show you every endpoint you can actually try out, almost all. You can actually try out before you start implementing it. So I think, yeah, it's one of the best documentation out there in the world. This one I don't need to touch, but our goal is to have tooling education and help people build products. All right. How to get started? I just want to go through this before I go to the hands-on. There are 4 ways. Mesh CLI. I will just go to the website right now. The CLI is just one line. If you type this, you can start a project right away. As easy as that. All right, that's one thing. Second one, starter examples. We have a ton of resources here. So if you go to examples, and these are not even complete because I have not been updating 3 months ago. It's working in a branch. I need to go back to the main, but currently we already have quite a long list here. Pretty good. From a smart contract to simple applications. All right. Yeah, starter projects, documentation, like I mentioned, you can try all the endpoints. You can see every ways you can interact with the blockchain and the wallet before implementing them. And also we have a pretty solid smart contract library. So let me show you a smart contract library. It's over here. Smart contract library, if you go to meshjs.dev, smart contract library, we have a bunch. And all these, you don't even need to learn what is smart contract. For example, you need vesting. So you go to vesting, and all you need to do is to install npm, initialize with parameters, and put in some JavaScript functions. As you can see, there's no smart contract part of it. But once you are experienced about, whoa, this smart contract looks good, you feel confident about it, and you are curious how it is being written. Everything is open source. You can go into the code, you can adjust the smart contracts, you can change the transaction, and everything like that. So here we are providing a lot of examples of different types of smart contract, whether it's time bound, is it key, is it datum, that kind of how the security of the smart contract is being designed. There's so many types here that you can try and learn from it, then adopt it to your own for your own application. So let's start the hands-on. Let's start the hands-on, which is over here. Here, I want to show you this is a new thing that I'm working on. I want to create a 10-part course that is, one, very, very hands-on. Second, anyone who finishes this can find jobs, because we're going to put this on chain to be part of one of the application out here called Andamio, which has on-chain record of credentials. So if you finish this and finish the project, you have the on-chain credentials, and that can provide you opportunity to be contributors and also do some tasks apply for jobs in our ecosystem. And there is a group of companies here I'm designing this course for, and they are looking for this particular skill set. So here there is project which I haven't worked out, and then eventually we have mentoring, which also haven't worked out. But what I've worked out is so far is lesson 1, 2, and 3, which is I'm going to cover it today. So let's cover lesson 1. All right, you can see how we get started with the most basic of Web3. And in this lesson, we want to work on two things, two objectives. What is a wallet and what is a transactions? And in these 10-part lessons, we won't cover any theory. This is after doing courses for like 2 years or so. We realize that if we cover theory, the number of dropouts is very high because people find it very boring. So in our first lesson, it's going to be hands-on, there's codes. And when the learners start to learn like, oh, this works, this feels fun, but they don't understand, then they come and ask questions and say, oh, how does the theory works? So that's how we want to approach in this 10-part course. So let's get started, all right? Of course, I've already do the NPM install so that it doesn't take time. But the very first thing is you create a package.json here, and I copy and paste these guys. This is just Node.js stuff. And then you npm install this thing, and you get this bunch of files already. So let's jump into the code. What is wallet, right? Wallet, if you click here, you will see we have two kinds of wallet. I just want to show you there's two kinds of wallet. One is like your browser wallet. If you are familiar with Ethereum, there's MetaMask, and many other chain have different kind of browser wallet. So this is a browser extension, but here today we are using the Mesh wallet. Mesh wallet is the embedded wallet. There's no UI part of there's no UI. So we want to use this, and you can see like there's initialized wallet. There's also generate wallet. So like I mentioned to you, you can try out our documentation. For example, you want to try out this function, you run. Oh, here you go. You get a seed phrase. You can run this many times, you get many seed phrase. And for example, if I want to use this seed phrase, I copy this seed phrase, and I want to initialize a wallet. I can actually copy and paste, and look, I get an address here. And you realize network 0, here test 1. Network 0 means testnet, means for testing only. But if you change to 1, look, you get a mainnet wallet. As simple as that. So how do you do that, right? As you can see from here, the source code is here. What we need to do is to get the mesh wallet, and you put in the mnemonic inside here. That's all. As simple as that. And how do we get address? Once you get the wallet.get change address. That's what we want to do. All right. So this is wallet. Let's do that right now. So how do we generate mnemonic? Simply let's create a file. Let's create a file called mnemonic.ts over here. This is coding, live coding, right? I want to show you that it works. To start off, let's just copy this line here, these two lines. What we are doing here is mnemonic, brew, and get a mnemonic, a new memory, right? And I want to update my script so that I can run it on using Node.js, as simple as that. So let's try this out, right? npm run mnemonic, enter. There you go. So it's printing here. This is your mnemonic. Of course, you can run this many times. If you run your own, you will get a different mnemonic phases. Then what do you want to do? Get change address. Let's try it, all right? Let's initialize the wallet and get a change address. What is change address? Change address is simply an address. And in Cardano and in Bitcoin as well, there's change where if you make a transaction, some remaining value need to come back to your own wallet. So this is what I mean by change. You give people $10, you expect like change back, So this is what it means by change address. So if I were to run this, you can see I have a mnemonic, and this mnemonic gives me this particular address. As simple as that, right? As you can see, I spent like 3 minutes to show you how wallet works. All right. After you npm install, just these few lines, you get a wallet, and you get to load a wallet. Of course, from here, you can also do many things, like, for example, await wallet dot. So you can see many things. For example, if you want, you can get Lovelace, which is how much ADA that's inside. You can get UTXO, which is a very common one. When you want to build transaction, you need to get UTXO. But obviously now there isn't any. So I want to show you something very important, which is you can come to this website. Once you come to this website, you can actually get some test ADA. So here you can choose pre-prod or preview. Generally, I like to work with pre-prod address, testnet. And then here you can put in your address. So you can copy this guy and put it inside here to claim some ADA, which I will not do because I do have my own test wallet. So I'm going to use that. But there is websites such as this where you can claim test ADA. I don't know how to send chat. Is there chat on Teams? Can I paste links and whatnot?
Maybe we can try. Did you see the
Yeah, I
chat?
think it's at the top in the middle chat. You see above all screens. On the right side, there's buttons, and the first one is chat.
Mine doesn't show though. Anyway, can you help me link those links if you're able to link those? We'll be able to do that.
Yes.
Yeah. I'll send it to you somehow, and you can help me link them up so that people know where to check out for these resources, all right? I think having these links on your end will be very useful. So anyways, let's come back.
Sorry, just give me a second. Mr. Dumitru, can we have access to chat? I think only members of the team have access to the chat, and both of us aren't.
I don't know if I can manage now.
But it's all right. If we can't, then it's okay. I will write up everything into a nice README, and then I will send it out to you guys later.
Okay.
Anyway, most of the materials are online, so
yes,
once it's easy to share. Anyways, let's come back to this. Now that we have our mnemonic, do save your mnemonic somewhere, because once you fund it, then you can reuse it for our next part of the lesson, which is to build the transaction. So let's come to learning how to send some Lovelace, all right? Let's send Lovelace, you will need the TX Builder. So let's go to TX Builder. You can come to here. As you can see, TX Builder, like what is mentioning, is transaction builder, right? How do we initialize? As simple as having a broad force provider or other provider, but here we'll be using broad force. What is broad force, right? You might be curious. Broad force is one of the node query provider. For example, here, it allows me to call the blockchain for UTXO or for blockchain information without installing node on my computer, right? So I can call using RESTful APIs. So in Mesh, we have it under here, providers, and we have a bunch of providers. If you like Koyos, my show, UTXO RPC is pretty famous recently. So with all this, you can initialize with your API key, and you can call any of these functions using RESTful without installing any blockchain on your machine. And that's our goal here, because we want it fast. One of the most popular things you want to be able to do is, of course, to query UTXOs. That's very important. All right, so that is what we're going to do in this lesson. So let's jump into the code right away. I'm going to copy everything, then explain to you what's going on. I'm just going to copy everything, then explain to you. So here I have my own broad force key, I think. Do I have that? Let's save broad force. So how about, I think my subscript is, okay, hold on, let me check. what's going on. Okay, I think it's my TypeScript. The server is sleeping. So I've managed to make it work now. Anyway, nothing's changed. All I did was to make sure that the Broforce key is being imported from my config. I don't want to show you my Broforce key. Another one is mnemonic is also inside here. So what's going on here, right? Let's go to the line by line. Let's make it big so that everyone can see. First, we have the Broforce provider. And with this provider, you can do many things. For example, you do Broforce and you can do all the fetch from blockchain information, right? All kinds of blockchain information. This one, we already covered it just now. Here we are using testnet and we feed in the provider as the fetcher and submitter. What is fetcher? What submitter? Fetcher means you want to query, you want to get. Submitter means you want to submit transaction. You want to post transaction. And here we are using mnemonic style of defining this wallet. So now with a wallet, you can do all the wallet stuff, right? So what do we want to do with a wallet? First, we want to get UTXO. Second, we want to get change address. How about let's print that up? Console log, change address, console log, UTXO. Let's just comment everything else. And let's, not run mnemonic. I want to run send Lovelace. So let's go to here. Let's call this def gxs send Lovelace.ts, comma, def. There you go. So I have a lot of UTXO, so a bit not very friendly to read, right? I need to scroll like crazy. So let's adjust slightly. How about let's just do length, right? Length th, yeah. So as you can see here, change address is this address, and I have 32 UTXOs. And each of the UTXO, let's just print one of UTXO just for fun, right? Let's print the very first one. It's a list, right? So the very first one, as you can see here, UTXO has inputs and outputs, and the inputs is there's a TX hash, and then there's output, which has an amount here, which is object. The object, the amount is the assets that is inside this UTXO. It can be Lovelace, it can be native tokens and whatnot. But it's okay. This shows that it's working. This is extra information already. We don't need to cover this right now. But just want to show you, you can do all this kind of console log stuff. And one thing good about Mesh and why it has good developer experience is also you can actually console log everything and read it like that. Some other toolings you get bytes, most of them, or CBOR hex, which you kind of need to convert. It's not so easy to like console log and check what's going on underneath. So that's wonderful about Mesh. We kind of like allows you to console log and see what's going on inside. Let's go to transaction. Here, we need a TX builder, and we want to do a few things here. What are those? Define a TX out. TX out means the output. And here we want to define the address. So here I send it to one of my address, and then I want to send this much Lovelace. So how does Lovelace work? It's in a million. So 1 ADA equals to 1 million. So 1 million, all right? So 10 ADA obviously is 10 million, right? So this is, I think is 1.5 ADA. I'm just sending 1.5 ADA over here. So what I'm trying to do here is to send 1.5 ADA to this particular address. I define my change address as my own address. So a UTXO maybe has like 20 ADA. And I only want to send 1.5. So where the change? The change go back to my own wallet, right? So that's what I'm trying to do here. Of course, if you define somebody else's wallet, for example, you define this guy, what's going to happen? All the change will go back to that guy, right? It will go back to whatever the address here you are defining it to be. Select UTXO from means where, yeah, select UTXO from where? From this wallet. And when you do complete, it will return you a hex string. And with the hex string, you can sign with the wallet. So wallet.signtx, you get a signtx, which is another hex string, a CBOR string. And with this, you can wallet.signtx. All right. Are you ready to try? Shall we try? Let's see if it breaks. I don't think it will break because this is pretty straightforward, but let's see. There you go. So you can see a lot of stuff here. Don't be worried. This stuff is happening because we did this. Bubbles is true. It's optional. You can set it to false. You can delete it if you don't care. But it's pretty good actually. So while we are waiting for the blockchain to confirm, I can extract this out and see and show it to you. So let's see how do I get it over here. So if I open this guy, as you can see, Mesh is pretty good in a sense that everything is very readable. This is a transaction. We call it the transaction JSON. Currently, there's no inputs because this is before the coin selection, so there's no inputs. And then, but I define an output. As you can see, the address, and then send this much. And then I have this change address. Apparently, it's mainnet, but you don't care here because currently mainnet and pre-prod is exactly the same protocol parameters, so it's okay to be mainnet over here. And everything else is empty, right? So as you can see here, is exactly the same as what we have defined. We define the output, we define a change address, and we select UTXO from, which is empty. But if we were to copy this another JSON here, the after coin selection, paste.
Jingles, sorry, but
Yes.
the transaction is checked before sending it to the blockchain or not? When
yes, it's validated. Yeah.
but how it is when at which point it is validated? Maybe in your code when you get the UTXO, yeah, or
yeah. So the good thing about blockchain about Cardano is when we do submit TX, if we get TX hash, is validated by on-chain node. So there's two places to check. First check is happening at complete. Obviously, we want to make sure that the transaction able to build correctly. Like if you are promising you want to spend 1 million, we want to make sure that's 1 million worth going up. So this kind of like check is being done here. When the second check happens, and why we need to do that is when you don't want UTXO to be spent 2 times. For example, you have this UTXO, you say send to this guy, you don't want to use this and then send again. So if you do that, this part will actually reject. The submit TX will actually reject the validation. Yeah.
Okay, so it's verified by the blockchain by the hash. It is unique, so it does not get. Okay, nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So we call it L1 validation and L2 validation. L1 validation does it over here. L2 validation does it here. All right. All right. So yeah, the transaction here you can see inputs. There's 2 inputs, and then outputs. There's 2 outputs. Why? After coin selection. First, here we are sending it to somebody we want to send it to. Second, we send it to our self-exchange. Nice. And then here you'll be like, oh, how come there's 2 inputs? Simply because we need more to send out. So here apparently I selected this guy, but not enough, right? Because I need to pay for network fees. So I have additional UTXO over here to have enough Lovelace to complete the transaction. And if you want to check the transaction, we can go to cardano-scan.io, and here we're using the pre-prop and paste the hex. Where do I get the hex from? Here, transaction hash hex. And here's the, apparently I just sent to myself. That's why it's a bit weird. But as you can see, the UTXO did happen, like the inputs and the outputs did happen. Summary here in a natural way, like no, if I'm working on it, if you are working on it, you should have seen 2 rows. You're spending from where and you are receiving from somewhere else. All right, here I'm sending it to myself, which is a bit not so make sense. Yeah, but the transaction works because it's on chain now. Yeah. So for the source code for all this is inside. If you scroll all the way down, it's over here. And if somehow you have not got the links, you can actually search for cardanobuilders.github.io to get the link, and the source code for everything is here. Yeah, that's right. Mnemonic and Send Lovelace. There you go. All right, you don't need to type it out a bit. Yeah. All right, this is the hello world. I call it the hello world of Web3 because here first you get a wallet. You know what is mnemonic, right? You get a bit of idea about UTXO, change, inputs and outputs, and you also get a bit of idea about what is a Lovelace and sending one output. And here, this entire lesson is just as simple as that. And there is a challenge also. The challenge is to how do you do multiple assets to multiple addresses? It's not hard. I can give you a hint if you really want to, is to simply copy and paste this, all right? You change the address, and then you maybe add some other units. For example, here I want to send 2 ADA, 2.5 ADA with, let's say, a token, right? Some NFT. Generally, NFTs has hex over here, and you want to send 1 token. Of course, this is not an actual hex. You got to copy and paste a real hex, or you can build a script to query the blockchain for the hex, for example, right? With this is sending multiple recipient with multiple assets, right? Ta-da. So this is the challenge. So this is the entire lesson 1. As you can see, is not so daunting. And probably some of you will have like question like just now. I can't remember who asked the question about validation. That is pretty slightly advanced kind of question. Like you think, oh, where the check's coming from, that kind of stuff. All right. I want to finish up the next part just before Q&A. I want to show you Web3 services because it's ultra awesome. And to try to share with you, the best way is to do a demo. So a demo, one moment, let me change my another browser because this browser do not have Discord and Google and whatnot. But yeah, I have Google. So let's try with Google. Connect wallet. Oh yeah. So in this browser, as you can see, I do not have any CIP wallet or internal or any MetaMask or anything like that. I do not have any wallet. So imagine this is your app. This is your app, and you want to onboard some guy, some person, and who do not have wallet. So the way to do it for us is self-custody and provide a social login wallet where you can log in Google. You can log in Google. Here I log in with my messages address. I hope it works. So the very first thing is you want to create a wallet. So let's type a password. I type AAA, for example. I don't want to save a password. Type a question and answer. Let's say home, and I type my answer as AAA. Set up recovery, complete. Voila. What happened, right? What happened? Here, I have an address. Oh, wow. Do you see that? As an end user, how do you feel? It feels like your grandmother can do it, right? And your grandmother have a blockchain wallet now. So easy. And you want to sign a transaction or sign a message. Click. Type in your spending password. This is the payload to sign. Sign data. The transaction is valid. So signing message is to approve something, and you want to make sure that the transaction is the signature is valid. So this is what happened. And you'll be thinking like, what if I forgot my password? No problem. Sign data. Let's say I forgot my password. It's okay. Recover password. Recover wallet. So here I type my answer. Recover. Type my new spending password. Type my new question. Type my new answer. Do a recover. And type in your new password. Done. Yeah. So this is Web3 services. Our goal here is to onboard. As you can see, the Mesh.js, this one, the SDK, is to onboard developers. All right. Here, we are onboarding users and businesses to Web3. So what are the fanciful things? All right. Just now what you saw is a wallet as a service is fully non-custodial. We use key sharding and we encrypt in multiple places so that some are stored on your device. Even if you change your computer, you go for boating and you drop your computer into the ocean, you still have not lost your key because we also help you store one key. And we need to have 2 out of 3 keys. One is the off shard, which is your Google. Second is your device share, which is device shard, which is on your device, which you can use it on your phone as well, by the way, this entire system. And also thirdly is the recovery shard. And we do SSS, Shamir sharding to split the keys into 3 places here. These are the 3 different keys I mentioned. And yeah, basically doing so, we can recover for signing. When you do signing, you need the device share and the off share. So you use the off share, you can get a valid JWT, which is a barrier token. Then you can get the off share, and the device share is on your device. And if you are on a new device, you do not have a device share, then this is where the recovery process comes in. And the key is being generated only in the iframe, meaning even the developer cannot steal your key, which is very safe. And all our codes are open source. So if you don't trust us, go verify the source code yourself. So that's how it works. And of course, we have white label solution. You don't need to connect to Mesh if you don't like it. You can connect to your own Blizzard Labs or anything like that, or the university account. And of course, you can change the logo and whatnot, all these things. And lastly, I want to talk about is not say lastly, the second last, right? Sorry, second last. Transaction sponsorship. Transaction sponsorship, as you can see, if you onboard your grandmother onto Web3, she do not have ADA or any cryptocurrency to pay for network fees. So that's a problem still. So as a developer, you can fund this particular small wallet here. And example, you put like 500 inside, and you can pay for everybody's network fee on your platform. Because they build transaction on your platform, they go through these services, and you can sponsor so many people's network fees. Why do you want to do that? Because you want on-chain activity. You want people to use your app. You don't want people do not have network fees and then they don't use your app. So sponsorship. And of course, the last thing we want to talk about is roadmap here. The next thing we want to roll out this year is also stablecoin. Of course, we are not going to roll our own stablecoin, but integrate with multiple stablecoins. We already verified some of the potential providers that we are working with, and our goal here is to convert from fiat, for example, your PayPal, bank account, credit card, all the way to USDC, USDM, native token coin, and you can play with the Web3 ecosystem and go reverse to convert back to your bank account money. So we want to work on that. Smart contract is very, very further down the road. I would say next year kind of thing. Real assets, that kind of stuff will be a smart contract. And scaling solution, this is something end of the year kind of thing. Maybe next year, still trying to work out. This is where Hydra is coming in. Hydra is the L2 of Cardano. And as a developer, you don't want to pay and sponsor everybody's network fee. But if we subscribe to this thing, every 30 minutes, you pay for 1 minute fee because all the other transaction is happening on L2s. So as a developer, you only need to pay every 30 minutes to go to L1 for your app. So that's the idea. MPC, down the road, currently we are evaluating using Enclave, AWS Enclave. Yep, that's all. That's all. Yeah, I will send you the links and you can play with it. The more important part will be about this thing. This is sexy, this is cool. Do check it out because if you need to onboard people, you need infrastructure. And here we have wallet as a service. And eventually soon we'll have transaction sponsorship. And if for this particular course, if this is a great material, do check it out. You can, like I said, we're going to roll out mentoring program as well. And finishing projects, you will become contributors, and we will roll out like live coding sessions where we pay contributors for hosting coding classes like this. So some program stuff going on, work in progress. We are learning. And of course, currently there's only 3 lessons. We're going to populate 10. Those 10 include on-chain, off-chain, and a bit of development costs. And that's it. Yeah. I think.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Guys.
I have a short, hopefully short question. Could you showcase a little bit the Andamio platform for them to have a wider possibility of learning?
So Andamio is very interesting stuff. That is the main part is contribution platform. So what story is like for example, Mesh. We want to find freelancers, for example. And one way is to send out job application and say who wants to apply, who knows JavaScript, who knows TypeScript, and then we evaluate you with interviews, that kind of stuff. This is old school. And we give you a coding class after that. Old school. This is what we think might be a more interesting way, which is to proof of work. So if you come to the app here, and we need to log in actually, then you'll be able to see courses and work. So for example, if you come to courses, there's a bunch of courses that you can subscribe to. And by completing the course, some organization will look for you, kind of like, because you completed the course, and every course have a I can do this kind of learning targets. For example, if you finish this course that I'm going to put into Andamio, first lesson, if you finish your project, I know that I can work with wallets, I can build basic transactions, right? And imagine I created all 10, and you finish all 10. Obviously, you have a lot of I can. I can write smart contracts, I can write something, right? Many I can. And for example, Bazel Lab, suddenly looking for some developer. Who will they look for? They will look for this database here and see who has this bunch of I can. Maybe he is looking for someone who can work on wallets, smart contracts, and cross-chain stuff, the midnight stuff or privacy stuff. He'll probably want to see who has this I can. So this is on-chain records of what have people done. If you finish some of this, they all have their own icons, and you can also browse for projects which is somewhere, and they have tasks. All of them has some tasks here, like treasury distribution. You can actually search for tasks. I don't know which one has tasks. I think this one has tasks. There you go. So here's some tasks, and each of these tasks has come with a bounty as well, some value that you can claim it. So if you have finished it, some are locked by credentials. For example, this particular task requires this icon, that icon, and that icon. Then those who have those learning targets, then they can book or secure this task for themselves. You see what I mean? So as a developer or as a company, you do not need to do an interview and whatever. It's people looking for jobs like this, and they say, oh, this one has 250, not too bad, I can do it. And in fact, I have already done it before based on my project based learning. I can work on it. So yeah, so this is the entire platform. The entire platform has treasury, has contribution platform, and learning platform. 3 parts. This is Andamio, and we want to move this thing here after I finishing everything, because on GitHub I can change it a lot faster. And then when I put it here, I will gonna click it and put it on chain, and there will be a hex for every lesson. And anyone who finishes this lesson, they will earn this particular hex as their proof to have say, oh, I can make a basic transaction, that kind of stuff. And of course, there's treasury kind of thing. I'm gonna put like a bunch of ADA for different tasks. For example, live coding. For example, Bazel Lab, he's very experienced in Mesh already, and then he wants to do live coding for the lesson 2. L right here, lesson 2 live coding session, 250 for example, and someone can secure it and finishing and submit the proof of work. So that is Andamio. All right.
Mm-hmm. That's a great tool, and I really wanna, as you guys said earlier, find some funding for it and let people from UTM and other new developers learn there. So that's in a way in a pilot line for me as well. And yeah, I've sent to our Telegram group the a link to X, to Mesh SDK. I propose that you follow. If you guys don't have X yet, which is X Twitter, that is the place where things are being said first. That's where a lot of things are being discussed, except for GitHub, I guess. But you know, for beginners, I guess it's very good to start following the blockchain developers that you see are speaking about it, are teaching, and are very good. So that's one place.
No.
Okay.
No?
Thank you. Thank you, Jingles. Very interesting. Dom Jorvu, thank you. Tudor, thank you. It was very interesting for me. For example, I am a big fan of Cardano, but it's in Moldova, there are not a lot of developers who are working on this blockchain. I'm not a developer, blockchain developer. Maybe I'm a simple web developer, but it was extremely interesting for me. I hope that this summer I will get hands-on and I will write maybe a voting app on with Mesh. It was stopping me from developing with Cardano. It was maybe harder because you need to know Haskell or other tools like maybe the newer tools are Icon. But now, as I see, it's easier with your SDK. Yeah, it was very interesting for me, and I hope that the students also enjoyed this. Because Web3 is something very interesting. It's something new for a lot of them. And I have maybe one question regarding maybe the Cardano blockchain. So in the last, I'm also watching the evolution of this blockchain. And as I see, there are more developers coming to this blockchain. And I want to know your maybe personal opinion. Is it growing like with the same pace like it was before, or there are fewer developers nowadays than it was maybe 2 or 3 years ago?
Yeah. So there's a lot of questions. Yes, it's not as difficult anymore, really. As you can see just now, within 10 minutes, actually, you can have a wallet and transaction working. And you don't need to be like Haskell at all. JavaScript is all good. And from the smart contract library, it's all pure JavaScript. You don't even need to know what is smart contract to use smart contract. And that is our goal, to get it started and get you pumped about, hey, it works. How does it work? That's the second part. We want to get work first, all right? About the traction, Mesh has increased quite a fair bit in terms of the numbers. Let me show you. So from then, I can roughly conclude it has increased.
Okay, that's nice.
Yeah. So currently, Mesh is the most popular one. So this is one way to track metrics. We are growing pretty nicely. That's one thing. Second is there is this website that we created recently because governance is kind of a thing. And we have quite a lot. Of course, here are many duplicates. Like, for example, if you are a developer, you install and then you will change another machine and different machine. There's duplicates, obviously, but it's growing. And here you can see the trend. There's also more open source. These are open source only repo that is using Mesh over time. So recently, like for example, April to May, 700 to 780. So yeah, obviously within 1 month we have 80, so pretty nice. Here is like 670 and there's 30 over here and then 80 over here. So yeah, there is some kind of growth in terms like the usage and also people trying out Web3 stuff in general. Another thing I also want to excite you about is also where Mesh is heading. Mesh is not pure Cardano only. Currently, yes, we are fully Cardano, but there is a lot of works going on. For example, we have.
As I saw, you have Polkadot also. Yes, you are working on Polkadot. Yes. Oh,
yeah.
Okay, that's nice. That's my second favorite blockchain. Yeah. After Cardano.
Yeah, Polkadot definitely. We are investing in Polkadot as well. We hired one developer to look into what cross-chain looks like for Polkadot. Second is also Bitcoin. That is the buzzword of Cardano ecosystem right now. So how to cross-chain Bitcoin? And currently we have quite basic stuff like wallet provider. We don't even have transaction builder yet. Currently very new. So Polkadot, Bitcoin, and Midnight. If you like privacy stuff, we do have Midnight over here. Midnight is pretty solid right now, with a ton of example. Of course, this is not fully populated, but it has like three languages. I can't remember which link has a lot of tutorials, but Midnight is something that we are investing very heavily as well. Polkadot, Midnight, Hydra for L2s. We do have Hydra for our tooling as well. Yep.
Yes, that's very interesting. Thank you, Jingles. It was a very big pleasure for me, and I hope we'll meet at another lesson maybe. Thank you.
I wanted to add something. There was a question about how popular is building on Cardano at the moment. And Jingles, please keep me honest here. Am I right that we just flipped every other blockchain in development activity?
I'm not sure.
I think.
I see sometimes, but I don't use that as an indicator for myself because blockchain activity is commits, so you can like console log commit, so that can increase pretty fast. So I don't use that really. But yeah, I do not have a answer for you. I think it's subjective.
Yeah, the reasons this is at least partly true is that we have
Высокоактивные машины.
Alexander, mute. Thank you. So there's a project Catalyst in Cardano that is funding developers. In the last year and a half, there were 4 funds, and I think the total amount of ADA distributed is 200 million, and that's a lot, right? Then this year and next year, we're probably going to have another 3 funds with 60 million total ADA. And this is pretty much up for grabs for those who are entering the ecosystem, who are part of the ecosystem, who are studying the narrative, understand what needs to be done, what needs to be redone, what needs to be made better, and so on. And all kind of projects can be submitted. Then the community, the whole ADA community who holds ADA, they can vote for your proposal or not. And if you're smart and lucky, then you can get funded with 50,000, 100,000. There's bigger projects like 1-2 million for bigger companies. And this is why I believe the metric that Cardano is either at the top or one of the top most used by builders. So yeah, it's very wide what you can do on Cardano if you are becoming part of the ecosystem as a dev. Also, Cardano has a total treasury of 1.7 billion ADA at the moment. That's 1.3 billion dollars, and this is again. Please keep me honest if you know. I don't think there's any other community controlled treasury in the world on any blockchain, not even Ethereum. I think Ethereum has a few hundreds of millions in their foundation, and they're not giving to projects. So yeah, in a way, what I'm saying, if you're very much into Cardano and you wanna do those 12 or 16 hours a day, you're probably gonna get funded more than any developer is getting in Moldova by himself. So good luck with those. I'm gonna put the links for Project Catalyst in the Telegram.